Hey everybody, St. Paul here, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 1, or 53, however you want to look at it, of Music on the Run. We are entering our third season here, and we cannot thank you enough for sticking by us. You're going to notice a couple of changes now coming up. We're going to do episodes once a month, but they're going to be fantastic. Coming up on this episode, the Mighty Soulmates. That's next on Music on the Run. Whew, it's cold here. Hey everybody, St. Paul Peterson here, and welcome to episode 53 of Music on the Run. We are in season 3. A big thank you to everybody who has been watching and listening for the last 2 years. Man, we've learned a lot. We sure appreciate your support. Thank you to our patrons who have been unbelievably generous to be able to help us put this podcast on. We sure appreciate you. If you don't know what we're talking about, go to patreon.com/Music on the Run podcast, and you can find out how to put a little skin in the game and to help us keep this going. You may have noticed that we weren't on 2 weeks ago. We have switched to doing podcast once a month. And I think it's just going to be a little easier on the old buck St. Paul here. So that's why we're going to make that change. But I think the podcasts are going to be really incredible. We have some great guests lined up, and episode 53 is no different. So let's jump right in. These guys have had incredible careers in their own right, but came together one magical summer in 1993 or 94. I got to double check that date. Recorded an entire record that summer, and it sat on the shelf for 28 or 9 years. Mick Murphy, you'll know from his career as a producer and songwriter and singer in the group The System. Gardner Cole is a singer-songwriter, producer, and solo artist who has worked with Madonna for just one name. Andre Simone is a fellow Minnesotan and Prince alum, but he grew up with Prince, and then when he left that band, he had an incredibly successful solo career and produced so many people, including Jody Watley and Adam Ant, to name a couple. Little known fact is I'm actually in this band as well. Please welcome the Mighty Soulmates. Fellas, how you doing? Thanks for joining me.
Great.
What's up?
So do you realize, is this the first time that we've actually been in the same conversation, together, since we did the record?
Yeah.
Mick, go ahead. You tell us.
1993, right? Was the last time we were all together. 93, 94, right?
Yeah.
I think so. And Gardner, since you were the instigator about this, tell us a little bit about how you got everybody together.
Well, I knew you all individually, and I had just got out of a deal at Warner Brothers, and I was like, man, I don't want to do the solo thing ever again. So it's like, I had the most fun being in a band. That's what made me want to do music in the first place.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, like, who would be a fucking killer band? Like, who do I know in my world that would make a great band? And I thought of you guys. So I called you all individually. Everybody was like, yeah, I might be into that. And then, it's kind of like once Mick was all the way in, then St. Paul came all the way in, and then Dre was kind of the last to come in because he was busy doing stuff, I think, with Jody. And then I just remember the very first time we got in the studio, I was like, oh man, this is going to work. It was just magic.
It was the compound. Describe where the studio was and what the surroundings were, GC.
Well, at the time, I had a house up in Woodland Hills, way up at the top of this hill. And I had a garage that I converted into a home studio. And this is back when people really didn't have a lot of home studios back then. And And, we're talking a home studio, but, it had like a 56 input console and, 2 24-inch tape machines. I mean, it was like a commercial studio. It just happened to be in a garage.
Right.
So we were making stuff that sounded like we were at Sunset Sound. We were just happened to be in my garage.
Andre, what do you remember about getting a phone call from Gardner?
Well, I mean, me and Gardner were already tight.
Yeah.
We were already hanging out and kind of doing stuff and working on different things and stuff like that. So, when he brought it up, I just, I thought it was a great idea.
Well, you and I, you froze there. I'm not sure if you finished what you wanted to say.
Me?
Yeah, Andre, you froze.
I had a relationship with Mick, so we kind of went back. And so, and obviously Gardner and I have been, working on stuff just all throughout. So, it sounded like a great idea. And, but Gardner's right. My life was crazy right then because I was doing Jody's record. I was supposed to be doing a solo album and on delivering. It just was a crazy time. But like Gardner, I always wanted to be in a group. I mean, solo, I can do solo stuff and it's fun. It's great. It's fantastic. But being in a group there's something about that, where, the onus isn't all on you. And it's like, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to feel like it. You can have fun, The camaraderie is amazing. And plus the chemistry that we had when we were working on this was just bananas. So it was crazy.
How did you know it was gonna work, Gardner? How did you know the person? Because there's a few different personalities, not like a big difference, but there's some big personalities. How did you think how did you know it was going to work?
I mean, look, when I heard, you're the family record, I was a huge fan of yours right away. I was like, damn, this is the most soulful white boy singer I've heard in my life, right? I mean, your version of Nothing Compares, Sinead's cool, but I'd take yours over that for sure, right? Because you sang it with soul. And I loved the system. I mean, Mick's voice is just epic. And Dre and I had been doing a lot of stuff together. I knew Dre was just a badass. I mean, there's nothing he can't play. He can sit at the kit and smoke the drums. He can get on the bass, blow your mind, get on the guitar. It doesn't matter, on the keys. And I just said, all of us are kind of multi-instrumentalist guys. We all kind of do different things. And I thought, let's just see what happens if we all get in there and just kind of, maybe I play keys on something. Maybe Dre plays keys on something. Maybe Paul plays bass. Maybe Dre plays bass. I knew between all of us, we'd have a freaking blast because we all play a lot of instruments. And I knew we could all write.
Mick, was there ever a time in the studio where there was any tension or anything over songwriting or over playing or anything like that on the record?
You know what? It came so easy. It was like the most egoless situation ever. I mean, sometimes I look back, I can't remember writing the songs. Like I can't remember how they went from little kernels of ideas into becoming these mixed songs. And it's funny, we all have worked together, for quite some time in various avenues. Like I remember you first coming to New York to work on that Jeff Lorber record. That was like the first time I'd ever met you. And Gardner, I think I was
so green back in those days, man. Oh my God, I'll never forget that. You were so good to me, bro.
Yeah. And I think Gardner and we met because you were working on Tony Lamont's record.
Yeah.
And I think writing on it also. And at this point, you invited me up to the studio. We hung out a few times, and it was really like a cool thing. And Andre, you may not remember this, but I met you the first time on the Prince Rick James tour. I was working for the group Clear. And I remember we did like maybe 10 dates or something like that. But your situation with Prince was the band was so tight and talk to anybody. But you, one day coming up the stage, you're like, what's happening, man? You threw me some dap. And I was like, yeah, that's the cat right there. That's a good cat right there. And
I didn't talk to very many people then anyway, but I remember seeing you and I was like, this brother reminds me of people that I know. It's like you reminded me so much of like people from my family. And so when you came up, you had this energy that was like, you and George Clinton. George Clinton was another one. It's like I I went up and gave him a big hug. I was like, it's like I wanted to say, Anyway, it was just, yeah.
So no egos at all. I mean, I remember being in the studio with you guys, and y'all were way more experienced than what I was doing. I remember coming off of doing, I think, 2 solo records that weren't necessarily, smash hits, let's just say, shall we? And I was beaten up, man, by the industry, bruised, and you're right, GC. It's hard being a solo artist, and Andre, it's a lot of work, which I'm not afraid of, but you got to do everything yourself. So coming into that situation and being asked by you, Gardner, to join this band couldn't have been more perfect timing, because I was just lost, and I came in with you fellas, and Andre, you and I, we may have grown up in Minneapolis, but we didn't hang out. We didn't know each other because you had already gone before I'd ever entered into the Prince camp. So I was always a fan of yours. And of course, Mick, you mentioned the New York story of you taking good care of me on the Jeff Lorber record, and then Gardner calling me, pulling me into this. I'm like, what is going on here? So thank God I listened to the universe and just went, why don't you just go check this out? And man, I don't know how it worked, but it worked really well. Gardner, do you remember the summer and trying to get us all into the same place? Because I was living in Minneapolis at the time, and we would come and go. I remember doing that quite a bit. And Mick, weren't you on the East Coast as well?
I actually, it's funny because I think we're all at sort of a crossroads in our life. Like our system deal had ended. I was breaking up with my wife. And it seemed like we were all kind of at a crossroads. And this was like a healing summer camp. And Gardner was the head healer. Because I remember he put us on vitamins. We were eating vegetarian.
Right.
Food. It was really like a summer camp with a counselor, and we were making music. A spiritual counselor.
Yeah.
He had animals running around. Didn't you have stuff? What was that? You had like I don't know if it was a porcupine or something, like an otter or something.
Yeah, I had a capybara.
That's what.
Yeah, and an emu. I had a giant emu. It was like
Only you, man.
Yeah. It was fun. It was definitely a great escape to get away from all the craziness I was going through. And I needed that then. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes you just need an escape. And I think I'd have to say the same for me. I needed it pretty bad because there was so much stuff going on in my life. I can't even, you would not believe, but it was just, much needed. And I've always thanked Gardner for that. It's and Mick, because, really, one of the things, and this is be a question for Gardner, because I think at some point, I remember Gardner saying, listen, Andre, what do you think about Jada Pinkett being in the band?
No.
Okay.
I didn't even know she had anything to do with music, but Gardner knew more than I did. And so, yeah. And
well, you know why? She did a record in that garage studio with Eazy-E. She did a rap record, and he produced it. So I knew she could rap her ass off. And a lot of people never probably heard that stuff, but it was actually really good. Really good.
There you go.
I had no idea.
He also was talking about bringing me in. I was like,
yeah, bring her to the studio. Go ahead. What happened to that, Gardner?
Yeah.
Bringing in who?
Sheila E. You were talking about bringing Sheila E. in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, she was interested at one point. I think a lot of us knew each other through Warner Brothers at that time. And she was kind of in a transition too. And there was a guy named Jess, Sutcliffe, great engineer.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And Jess did a lot of records with her. And he was the one that actually said, because, at the time, I think Dre and I and a lot of us were playing drums, kind of just. And then we did have one girl, Carla, play drums on one song or 2 songs. But
All the Confusion, she definitely played on.
Yeah. But we didn't really have like a drummer. And so Jess was like, man, you should think about getting Sheila. And I called her. And at the time, she was like, that sounds really interesting. I don't know why. I remember we had an interest from Compliment. about signing us.
Yeah.
But then he left EMI, right in the middle of us trying to work something out with him.
Yeah, I had a relationship with him because we had been doing a bunch of stuff at that point. So yeah.
Yeah.
So you finished this record. Oh, I'm sorry, Andre, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, remember we went to the Capitol building? Because I think he bought the Capitol building or something.
I do remember.
We did.
Empty. It's like the weird.
Why did we go there?
We were there for a meeting, just to pitch him the stuff and play the stuff, and and he loved it. But Gardner's right. I think he left and then wound up doing some other independent stuff.
Well, what you probably don't remember is he gave us $30,000 to have the right of first refusal. That's why we did the Tom Jones record. He said, "Don't give us the money back. Don't make the Tom Jones record with the $30,000." Do you remember that?
Not really.
Yeah, something for your head. That song, "Something for Your Head."
I remember the song. Yeah.
Wow.
It's on the Tom Jones record. That was really a Mighty Soulmates record. That song.
I know that, but I had met with Tom Jones because I was supposed to produce a record for him, and so relationship and blah 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 blah. But somebody in the record company was like, they wanted Tom Jones to go in some other different direction. But yeah, and then when they heard "Something for Your Head," they were like, I remember them asking us, "Are you guys willing to part with this song?" I remember that. I don't remember the cash.
They had given us, Compliment had given us some money, and then he was like,
the cash.
Compliment gave us like $30,000 or something to track something. And then he was like, "I'm sorry, guys, I'm leaving EMI, but if you want to just give them that master and throw Tom's voice on it, we'll just call it even." And then we kind of all just walked away. That's one of the reasons the thing sat. Because we thought we were going to go with EMI.
So before we get to the record just sitting there for 35 years or whatever, I kind of want to know what you would describe this record as it sits as a collection. By the way, here it is, the Mighty Soulmates, which is beautiful, by the way. I love the artwork on that. Mick, why don't you tell me what you think this record is? What style, what genre, what feeling is this?
I feel like it's got the roots of like a Memphis soul, but our roots, I think, as writers are in that Motown, Memphis soul, but also we have that 90s funk, of course. I think that's kind of the direction of the group. The thing that impressed me the most when we first started, because I come from playing bands, playing local bands. I mean, bands were tight and you didn't play in anybody else's band except your band. You'd be a traitor if you played in a different band other than your band. But I just remember when we started recording how tight the vocal harmonies were. And it was just so natural. I mean, you listen to the record, I think I'm most impressed. I mean, I know all you cats are great musicians, you play amazing, but getting voices to blend naturally usually is a difficult task. And we just had it from the beginning. Every song, the background vocals, the harmonies, they're just tight. They just work. And there's a natural harmonization that happens, powerful funk that I love about the record.
Yeah.
Great.
Why don't you tell us what you think, Andre? What do you think this collection of songs is? What do we have on our hands, man?
Well, I think whenever you get, basically four, extremely creative individuals together that could all, obviously all solo artists in our own right, all, multi-instrumentalists in our own right. But I think, Mick is touching on something that's interesting because, we all played in bands, and that's sort of oddly enough, it's weird to say, but it's almost like a bygone reality right now when it comes to, well, maybe not, it's starting to come back, but for a long period of time, bands were kind of like, no, not bands, but we played from, and I think a lot of us were influenced by, some of the, most amazing bands that ever was, whether it be the Beatles, whether it be, Sly and the Family Stone, whether it be Jimi Hendrix. It's all over the map of who we probably all listen to because we grew up more or less in the same, era. And I think, when you put people like that together to create, and there's no there's no boundaries. It's like, let's just write songs, you know. And I think what you come up with is, you know, an amalgamation of, you know, several different styles. But what it did was it kind of created its own style. And it's something that I talked about when, you know, we were talking online. I said, it's like, you know, I think, God, I forget exactly what I said, but it's like you get all these people together and they're free to just sort of create, you know, whatever they like. And it's just, it's like, it's really kind of hard to categorize because it's funky, it's rocky. It's like Mick said, it's got this Memphis kind of thing. It's got a little Minneapolis kind of thing. It's got a little bit, it's got a ethereal stuff. It's got, you know, because Gardner's, you know, when you really, you know, Gardner will pull out stuff and instruments from, you know, from
guitars and stuff. You know, what's really I really love about this project is that, you know, we're all solo artists and we all have our own histories, and usually that can be a recipe for disaster. Like when you try to come together to agree on what the parts are, what the songs are. I don't remember having any of that. I just remember kind of waking up in the morning and we'd start a song and we'd finish a song. We'd rap it, mix it, move on to the next. It wasn't like we recorded all these little bits and pieces and we had to come back and try to figure out how they all fit. It was like we wrote a song, we recorded it, we mixed it, boom, next. I think we have, 25 songs from that little tiny period of time, which, you know, making a solo record, you second guess yourself so much. Like, is that song good enough? I can read. We didn't do any of that. It was just like what was on tape was what we recorded at that moment and what we mixed at that moment. I think really, I love the way this project came together.
I think the cool thing is when you have, you know, because we're all basically record producers and writers. So when, you know, I think to what you were saying is like when you don't have to second guess because you got people right there to say, no, that was good. Yeah. You know? Sometimes when you do stuff, that's you need that, you know, you need somebody to really be right there. And so when they're right there on the spot, you know, you don't have to second guess yourself because you got backup.
Mm-hmm. I got to tell you, just coming in, especially in the mind frame that I was in, I was intimidated. Coming in going, God, do I belong here? And you guys just
played your ass off. You played your ass off.
You did this, though. You brought me in and you brought out stuff in me that probably been hiding because I was so worked up trying to be what my managers and my record company wanted me to be. I didn't know who I was anymore. And you guys just went, we don't care about that anymore. Here's where you're supposed to be. And I'm telling you, this record is, in my opinion, is some of the most organic, cool things I hear. Everybody's influence in there. And I remember it. I have a specific memories of, you know, people overdubbing things, especially in a thing like Tied to Your Rocket. I remember Dre singing the bridge to that thing. I'm like, what are you saying there? He said, it doesn't matter. It feels good. I'm like, you're right. You're right. I said, I was trying to take down the lyrics as we were to turn them in. I'm like, it doesn't matter. But you guys totally took the pressure off, which was great for me, and that's why I remained there. And it absolutely comes through on that piece of vinyl that we have there. So nothing but great memories of that for me. It was, like you said earlier on, you guys, it was a healing camp for all of us. Gardner, that was because of you, man. What is it about your aura or your presence, man, that just kind of... it not only are you musical, but you have this sense about you and your personality that really is a caretaker and a healer. Where's that come from?
Well, I was the oldest in my family, so I took care of all my brothers and sisters, right? So I'm used to being the guy that gets shit done and, you know, gets all the kids to sit at the table and eat and get along, right? Mm-hmm. So as a record producer, that helped me because, you know, when you get in the studio with 4 or 5 egos in a band, you know, you got to figure out how to placate them and get them to get along. So honestly, I think it was my childhood prepared me because you got to be a part psychologist too to be a record producer, as you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, you got to talk artists off the cliff. oh, I suck. I can't do this. No, you're fucking great, man. Get back in here. You know?
Yeah, you really do have that thing about you. I mean, I remember part of it, I've been in bands, but we never had this situation where we were all in one house. And I think that has a lot to do with it. We were all in one house. We would eat breakfast. We would have coffee. We would go in the studio and start working immediately. We would take lunch and go eat vegetarian food. That little vegetarian spot with Elvis Albino. Remember that guy?
Oh, yeah.
The Elvis Albino would eat there too.
Yeah.
And we would have lunch and we would then come back and work more. And it was just, we really took time to talk to each other. And it was really a healing experience. That's the only way I can describe it, you know? And somehow at the end of it, all this music came out and it's all finished. And I was really shocked because I worked on one song sometimes for 6 months. Mm-hmm. Like one song. Like you do that mix and then you do another mix. And this was all, like everybody said, so organic and it kind of finished itself.
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead, Andre.
I was just going to say one song is funny because I was listening to it the other day. And I think it's Rec Shop. And it's just like, I mean, it's got changes in it that just, you know, they just go places that you just don't expect it to go. You know, it's like, I mean, it's funky and it's just sick, but it just goes places like, I mean, it just sounds like we were having a lot of fun. Mm. A fun record.
So why did it sit on the shelf for, well, let's do the math here. Is it 28 years, 29 years? Tell us why that thing sat on the, actually, we should all really say why it sat on the shelf. My personal take is, I don't know why. I think we all just kind of went, whew, and no one took the ball or picked the ball back up. I don't know exactly what happened, but GC, give me your thoughts on that.
Well, part of it, look, is, you know, we were all producers and writers, and projects came up for me. I went and started producing records on other people, writing songs for other people, just like Dre, all of us. Well, we all had our own projects that were separate from this. And I think we all just kind of got busy after that summer. And I kept thinking, yeah, we need to get back to this. Maybe next year. And then before you know it, 10 years go by and then 15 years. And it's, you know, and I found these old DAT tapes. That's how old school this shit is. We had mastered this shit down to DAT, right?
Yeah.
And I found this DAT player, and I'm like, I wonder if this shit still works. And I I started playing back a couple of songs, and I was like, this is badass stuff. Like, I forgot how good it was. I think we all forgot how good it was.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
You know? It's something with the best stuff I've ever done in my life. I'll tell you that.
I got to tell you, when I listen back to it, you know how you make an album and you kind of struggle song by song. You may have the beginnings of a couple songs that you know this is the direction. When I listen to this, I think it's almost kind of the most complete version of what I do with a band. And when I listen to it, I can imagine us playing a four sets and doing these songs. They feel like what you would do as a band at a gig, you know, like we used to do back in the day when we played clubs and we do four sets a night with different people singing, different people taking a lead, one person's in the background, one person singing a lead on this song. And to me, that's my roots. That's what I come from. I absolutely love the record and love what we did together.
Well, that would be a blast, playing it live. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
That would be.
I would do that in a heartbeat, man.
Yeah, count me in.
Set up in a club, man. Let's do 4 sets.
Well, you see my basement behind me. I don't know if none of you probably have rehearsed here, but this is where we've been rehearsing since 1958. This is Mom and Dad's old basement, so I got the place ready to go.
That's crazy.
Just don't come now because it's going to be like minus 40 here tomorrow. Bet y'all don't miss that, do you, Andre?
Run from minus 40. I run from 20. I run from 30 degrees. I can't take cold anymore. I don't know what happened. I know what happened.
I remember you told us, Andre, about how you leave the car running at night when you go.
I never shut my car off. I'd run out to the clubs. I'd park it right in front and tell whoever I say, listen, keep my car right here. Let it run. Don't touch it. And then I go in and party, get my groove on, and go back out my little leather coat. And that's how I live in Minnesota. That's it. I went back recently and froze my. Anyway, it's cold. I love it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it is Minnesota in January. That's for sure. So who picked up the ball and started to roll with this again? Because what we started doing, I mean, I can tell you that you guys had started the email conversation back and forth. Hey, we have an opportunity to do this. Was it you, Mick, who picked the ball back up?
It goes back a little further. Actually, Gardner and I, at one point, we had DAS, and like he said, he must have played a DAT and called me. But we all connect from time to time and link up what you're doing, what's happening. We always have that connection. So he listened to it, and I said, "Hey, do you have all the masters?" And I remember you sent me all the waves of all the material so that I would have a copy. And then I listened to it. I got kind of busy doing other things. But recently, like within the last 6 months or year, I put all the desks together. I, bounced them into my computer, and I kind of listened to everything. And I was blown away. I really was. I was like, wow, do you know how much time it would take in our minds now, the perfectionists that we are, to put together 8 songs, how much time it would take? And I'm listening to this project, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is crazy. So I started bugging all you guys. I had a relationship with the record company in the UK called Be With Records, and I had done another project for them. And I said to Rob, hey, I want you to check something out and tell me what you think. And he listened to the project, and he said, man, this is phenomenal. At which point I started contacting you guys and saying, come on, let's make something happen. And there were no no's. Everybody was like, yeah, man, let's get this happening. So here we are.
If without your cajoling and your taking the ball and actually completing and getting it done and doing everything you had to do, that's a lot of work, man. So I'm sure, certainly speaking on behalf of the rest of the fellas, but thank you for doing that, because we wouldn't be sitting here with this going on today. It would be still sitting on a shelf, and we'd be 80 years old going, hey, you remember that record that we did?
Yeah, we should have put that record out. Yeah. It was it was a labor of love. It really was. I definitely know we have something amazing here, and I just hope a lot of people get to hear it, and I hope we get to maybe perform some of these songs, and because it's such a groove. It really is. It really is a groove.
Gardner, favorite song on the record?
Wow, that's tough.
I know. Tough question to ask, isn't it?
Wow, I have to think about that. Because I'm from Detroit and I got Motown roots, Blue Tuesday always kicked my ass, especially after you put in that 6-string part.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I sure do.
There's just a vibe about Blue Tuesday that represents where I come from, that whole Detroit Motown kind of thing. But it's hard. I mean, dude, I love them all. It's hard to say, but that one, I just remember when we put that together, I was like, yeah, I could play this around Detroit and people would be like, damn, that's good.
What about you, Andre? You have a favorite at all?
I'd have to say I got a bunch of favorites. I think my favorite might be Tied to Your Rocket.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. That's
why that one, man?
I love that too.
Well, Tied to Your Rocket is so, what I got into music for was because, I used to love to, my father was a musician, so I used to, I had all kinds, and I was the opposite of Gardner. I was the youngest. So I had access to an incredible amount of music, and so I really, listened to everything, like from jazz to, pop to, Righteous Brothers to Beatles to you name it, to, Association, whatever. I listened to a lot of different stuff, and, and so Tied to Your Rocket is one of those kind of things that really kind of reminds me of my childhood and really what I loved about music in the beginning. And so I think that, but I also like Back in the Day. Back in the Day is also my, they're really neck and neck. Because, I mean, it's almost like complete, opposites, because you got Tied to Your Rocket that's this sort of ethereal kind of, psychedelic, trippy kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And Back in the Day, this kind of got his foot in hip hop, and it's got this whole other kind of, kind of neo soul, way before neo soul even knew what, had an. It's interesting, and so I just think we were all plugged into what was going on, and I think when you're really doing it at the level that we were doing, we're always anticipating what the next thing is going to be. Right. So this record was a part of a whole lot of things that were like upcoming that weren't even out yet. That I think has a lot to do with why it's as unique as it is.
What about you, Mick? Do you have a favorite?
Well, okay, I want to preface by saying I think what's amazing in the sound of the record and the vocals is that nobody sounds like they have anything to prove. You're going to make a record and you're trying to kill the mic. You're trying to kill the bass. And this record just sounds like everybody's voice is so relaxed and you can really hear everybody's individual personality. And it's almost like we're gardening together and we all have our place and nobody's trying to fight to get noticed and everybody's just so even. Saying that, I think one of my favorite songs is Gonna Love You Right, because everybody's vocal gets a chance to shine and you can hear, whenever you're trying to record a vocal, my experience as a producer, you're trying to get the essence of the person. And I really, when I listen to this record, I hear the essence of each one of you. And I listen to Andre on Hollywood. That's Andre through and through. The humor, the lyricism, the attitude. You know what I'm saying? I just hear everybody's personality. And Tied to Your Rocket, Gardner really comes through his ethereal, the lyrics and the presence that he has. And then Paul, you're just, to me, I'm so jealous when I hear you sing sometimes. I'm like, this guy he's killing it. Like, it's just, I can't say enough about how all of our personalities are able to shine without competing, and that's a hard one when, especially to have multi-vocalists and multi-instrumentalists. Really impressed with you guys, man. Hope I can stay in the band.
Let me expound on that, because I think you're right. Like I told you earlier, coming into this band, I was super vulnerable, just got my butt kicked by the industry, and you guys kind of proved to me that I had nothing to prove. It was just show up, do what you're supposed to do, and everybody will have your back. I think we complimented each other that way for each other, maybe without even verbally saying it. We just did it. We picked up the slack when the slack needed to be picked up. If someone couldn't be there, someone would mix. If someone was gone when bass part needed to be on there, Andre would play. If there was programming to do, Mick would do it. If there was a production or a vocal to do, Gardner would be there. It was really a band effort. This is not a BS band at all. This was truly a work of 4 individuals coming together with, like you said, nothing to prove and everything to gain. But we did it, I think, without ever having to verbally say that. And it just shows up so beautifully on this record. Don't you think?
Yeah. Indeed.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we might have to... Go ahead.
I have a question about, I don't remember all of the mixing. It's like we record and you stayed up at night and mix, and then I don't remember all of that because there were a lot of days when I know we just went in, we had a song idea, we finished it beginning to end, and then the next morning it would be like, hey, we have a song. Let's move on to the next one. Sounds good to me.
I remember sitting there with a lot of Chevys on the rocks, man, back when I was drinking, and I would do a lot of late night. Oh, I was full deep in it. Trust me. I'm sure you all remember. Mm-hmm. I would get to my place and I would sit. I remember doing many mixes late into the night, doing that. And that's that's the whole thing, is that everybody would pick up the slack where somebody else, you know, where can we help? And it was just a cool organic way of doing it without making a big deal of it.
Yeah.
I think.
I would be curious too, because I don't remember. I mean, especially at that period of time. I mean, because I know we did some stuff at my studio on Main Street,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember mixing. And obviously, we had to mix it, so we must have all just got in there because you guys were there quite a bit. So
we were. What was that? The brewery?
Yeah. Yep. Brewery building. Yeah.
That's right.
I remember mixing while we were doing shit. I remember we'd be like, we just get so into a track and we'd lay a bunch of stuff down and then we just sit there and mix and we get it close. I remember sleeping on shit coming in the next morning because I got up earlier than all the rest of y'all.
That's because
I'd go in the morning.
Oh boy.
I'd tweak a little bit of shit in the morning and I'd be like, you guys would come in and I'd play it. But we did a bulk of that stuff in the moment, man. We just keep going. Like, we didn't labor over any of it. It was fun.
I learned more about a 24-track recorder and everything like that in your garage, my brother, than I could have ever learned anywhere else, because everybody else was like, you can't touch that. That's my thing. You're the artist. But this was like homegrown studio. Yeah, you better go take the reel off and put the next one on. I'm like, what? How do you do? But by the end of that summer, I was like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
That's just what it was.
Yeah.
So
I thought of one of the reasons why the project ended. We had that huge earthquake. Remember, and the house got wrecked. The chimney fell off, and we were sleeping on your trampoline.
I remember.
Yeah.
And then Gardner was out of there that next week and moved to Arizona.
I got out there pretty quick.
Did you?
Yeah,
I did. I'm like, okay, that's it. Well, I got to back up a little bit. So first we have torrential rains come, and they fill my pool with dirt and mud that comes flying down the hill, right? And then a fire comes and gets within 100 yards of my house, and then the earthquake hits, and I'm like, all right, Mother Nature's telling me to get the hell out of here.
Locusts were next, by the way. Locusts.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it for the next 28 years. Yeah. Tell me what happened. Give me a synopsis of what you did for the next 28 years, Gardner. And what are you still doing?
You know, I've never stopped doing music, but I came out to Arizona and became a businessman and a real estate guy. And now music is even more fun because I don't need to do it for money. Now
Amen to that, brother. Send some our way.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I could get into boring details, but I kind of just got into properties, bought at the right time. You know, Mick's done a very similar thing to what I did. He got into real estate too. And, but yeah, I don't want to get to boring details, but I live on a farm with a bunch of animals. I enjoy nature. I got 16 livestock in the middle of Scottsdale. I've got the last farm in the city, basically.
And you're a family man too.
I am. Yeah. I got a 15-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
I
came to the party late, but I'm enjoying it.
That's great. What about you, Andre? Tell us what you've been doing and continue to do.
Oh, God, obviously still making music.
Of course.
I'm going to stop doing that. I went to school for a while for filmmaking, and studied film directing and producing and all that kind of stuff because I've always wanted to be a filmmaker. And so look forward to doing that. I've written, I don't know, maybe something like 17 screenplays, something like that. A buttload of screenplays about a number of different things. And, basically that's it. I'm also, family, kids love it,
that's great.
It's a beautiful thing. It's like, and again, it's beautiful because, you do the things that you love, because I don't need to do it to make money. It's not like I'm like, oh, I gotta, hustle this and hustle that, but, I've always been like that anyway. I mean, which has always been maybe a little bit of an Achilles heel for me. It's like, I like to do things,
I hear you.
Money. I like to do things because I want to do it. I love it. And, like this project was something like, when Gardner gave me, the heads up, I was like, oh shit, are you kidding me? that'll be a blast. And it was, and it is, and it's still, it'll always be a blast. And if we come together again and do something again, I think that'll even be a bigger blast.
Yeah.
Man, that would be fun.
Yeah, it'd be fun. And it'd be just as funky, just as fun, and maybe even more so, because the one thing that people always seem to forget is, we don't have a sell-by date. We are like, we could, I think you get better. You get more wisdom. You get more. You actually know more about what you're playing. It's like it's just a free flow of creativity. I think that you get, when you start to really understand. When you're doing it for a really good, cause, which is basically for the pleasure of creating something.
Mick, what about you, man? Fill us in.
Well, I've always continued to make music, and like Gardner, I did get into real estate, but music was always my first love. And what I found was that making the music never got hard. What got hard, getting it out, getting it released, and getting it out to the masses. I think part of the downside of the generation we come from with music is that being cool is not self-publicizing. It's not blasting yourself on Instagram. It's not big upping yourself every 5 minutes. You always had other people to big up for you. And I think that part of it has really changed a lot in modern music. So trying to break out of that shell of, being cool and not over-publicizing yourself is kind of one of the drawbacks of being a generational musician. I've made a lot of records. We've continued to write songs and make things. But like I said, the real difficult part is finding a forum to get it released and get it out to the masses. So hopefully this project, although we made it in 1994, it's still vibrant and it's a very now thing. And I'm hoping that we can make some progress with it and get it out to the masses that way.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that we made this record in the old music business model and we're releasing it in the new music business model? How does that work?
Well, I think Mick just,
I don't know. We'll find out, won't we?
I think Mick just touched on it, is that you have to, it's a different paradigm. It's not like, because he's right. And we come from the school really not, trying to big up yourself and sort of constantly promote yourself and be out there, but that's what it is now. So you got to just try to, keep talking about it, keep doing what you're doing right here. And because people, we've gotten, the attention span for music and, music consumers, it's just gotten so short.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, I wanted to really congratulate you because I see you've found your niche and you've, you really do very well with all your platforms, with pushing it and getting things out there and constantly gigging and, your springboard of having that beautiful family of yours. And, I really applaud you. You always bring a smile on my face, man, because you're so genuinely musical and so genuine with the way you put out your music and keep putting out things.
Thank you, brother. That's it right there. I've won the lotto by you saying that. Are you kidding me? That is why we make music, for that right there, because this series that I've been doing called Funk Friday, I'm on my 96th one at the time of this taping of this, is simply just to put, number one, connect people, number two, to put music together with people who are unlikely partners, not unlike what this band was, and number three, there's no money to be gained or lost. It's just about the hang. It's about the musicality, and it's about bringing some light to what can be a dark world. And that's all it is, man. And that makes me happy, and that makes me feel like I'm doing what I'm put on this planet to do. So thank you for saying that, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, you're doing it, brother.
Mm-hmm. Final thoughts on the Mighty Soulmates, Gardner Cole. Give us your final thoughts.
I think I'm super excited about the idea of us doing this again. I think the whole reason that this is happening, the universe is saying, y'all need to do this again. So I'll tell you right now, I'm down to do what we did last time. I got a big ass house, a nice studio. I'm down to put everybody up and do it one more time. Even if we do a little EP and do 4 or 5 songs.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can do 24.
Final thoughts, Andre.
I have to concur. It's like I think it would be a blast. I think we should get together and we should do another collection of songs. Just have fun. I think it'd be a blast. So, and then maybe even do a live show. I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of people that love to see us, on a stage somewhere. But obviously, we want to let this pandemic thing sort of, go through a sort of thing. But I would love to do that. That'd be a blast.
Final thoughts, Mick.
Well, I gotta say, I love all you guys, man. No, for real, like for real. We have a connection. We have a real soulmate connection. Individually, as a group, me and Andre, me and Gardner, me and St. Paul, whenever we hang, there's just this sense of brotherhood and fun. And it's like fun. I remember because I would stay in LA sometimes, and Andre, we would ride from LA to Gardner's house sometimes, and I would just think, man, I'm riding with my dude. I'm riding shotgun with my dude, okay? And it was just always such a blast, man. So many laughs. Playing basketball in the yard. St. Paul with the 18-ounce cup of coffee in the morning or 2. The gallon
that has
of coffee.
Not changed. I'll let you know that.
It was just such a magnificent time, and it was just it reminded me of my teenage band years with seasoned guys, and just the personality that you have when you're driving to a gig all in the same van with the gear in the back. It's that same feeling of setting up the gear, doing the gig, breaking it down, going to White Castles or whatever that after the gig burger place is. It was just a wonderful feeling, man, a wonderful connection that we have, and we still have it. It's still there. I'm so happy and proud that we were able to share this experience together, and I look forward to what we can do in the future.
I got to tell you that I concur with you, Mick. I love all you cats. This is so great to see you. I mean, we're all not in the same room, but we are in the same virtual room. So, first of all, thanks for taking the time to get together and just hang out for an hour. It means a lot to me, just on a soul level, to actually have the chutzpah to put this thing out, man. This is a long time a coming, and I'm really proud of this record. All of you guys are just brilliant on this thing. I agree. I hope that people pick this thing up, the Mighty Soulmates. Listen to what we did in 1993 at our Gardner Cole summer camp, because you'll see a lot of insight into who we are as solo artists, who we are as family men, who we are as musicians, who we are as producers, singers. You'll hear our backgrounds. You'll hear all that stuff coming together so beautifully and organically. And it's just been a great ride, and it's so good to be reconnected with you all. And I'm with you. Gardner, you better get the maid ready, because there's a few of us coming by.
That's all right.
Move the zebras over. Move the zebras over.
Well, that's
well,
it.
I love you all like brothers, man, and you're welcome anytime. Just let me know, and we'll do it.
All right.
Well, that'll do it for episode 53 of Music on the Run, the first episode of season 3. Big thank you to the Mighty Soulmates for coming and hanging with me for the last hour. Good luck on the record, fellas. We'll see you in a month.
Peace out.
Music on the Run was hosted by yours truly, St. Paul Peterson. Edited and produced by my buddy Davide Raso. Social media by Mary Beth Stevens. And a very special thanks to the people who financially support this podcast. And remember, it's never too late.